stop what you're doing, because that old, dirty 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial penny in your pocket could be hiding a shocking secret. Most people ignore these coins, but collectors are hunting formative years, professional life, and birth and early childhood pennies with rare errors that can turn 1 cent into hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. Some were struck with doubling, missing details, wrong metal, or dramatic die cracks, and a few have sold for jaw-dropping prices. Listen closely, because in the next few minutes, you might realize that a penny you've ignored for years could be hiding big money. I'm talking about a coin that millions of people spent without a second glance. Yet today, the right version can be worth hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases, a truly life-changing value. Don't blink, because this could be hidden treasure sitting in your pocket change right now. Back in 2009, the U.S. Mint did something unusual. To honor Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday, they released 4 special pennies telling the story of his life. Most people remember them as just another redesign. But one design, the Formative Years penny, quietly slipped into circulation carrying secrets that collectors didn't fully understand at the time. And those secrets are where the big money begins. This coin shows young Lincoln sitting on a log, reading a book, with a simple frontier cabin behind him. It looks humble, ordinary, almost boring. And that's exactly why so many of these coins were spent, scratched, and forgotten. But behind that simple design lies one of the most fascinating modern coin stories, and a shockingly small number of collectors know what to look for. Now here's where things get serious. Not all 2009 Formative Years pennies are created equal. Some were struck in massive numbers and are worth face value. But others, because of where they were made, how they were struck, and tiny details most people miss, have sold for hundreds to thousands of dollars at auction. Let's reset your attention right now with a hard fact. In top condition, a 2009 Formative Years penny with a special satin finish has sold for over $1,000. That's not hype. That's real auction history. And error examples? Those are where collectors start sweating. First, flip the coin and check the date, 2009. That's step 1. Next, look just below the date on the front. Do you see a tiny letter? A D mint mark means Denver. No mint mark means Philadelphia. And here's the first shocker. Both can be valuable, but for different reasons. Now check the surface. Does it look unusually smooth, almost silky, with sharp details and squared edges on the rim? That could be a satin finish coin, originally made for collector sets, not circulation. These were never meant to be spent, yet many were. In high grades, these satin finish Formative Years pennies regularly sell for $300, $600, even $1,200 or more. Big money for a penny. But stay with me, because the real hidden treasure comes from errors. One of the most hunted errors on this coin is the double die. Look closely at Lincoln's hands, the book, and the lettering. If you see doubling, especially on "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," you may be holding a coin that collectors will fight over. Confirmed double die examples have sold from $400 to well over $2,000, depending on condition. Now here's a reset that wakes people up every time. Some 2009 Formative Years pennies were struck off-center. Not slightly, dramatically. Dates partially missing. Lincoln shifted. These coins look wrong at first glance, and that's exactly why they're valuable. Off-center strikes of this coin have sold for $500 to $1,500, and extreme examples can go even higher. Still think this is pocket change? Listen to this. There are also clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is literally missing because the metal sheet was cut incorrectly. On a modern penny, that's rare. On a 2009 Formative Years design, it's explosive. Verified clipped planchet examples have brought $300 to $800 at auction. Now let's talk color, because color can mean life-changing value. If your coin is bright red, with original copper color and no dark spots, that's a major deal. Collectors call these full red coins, and they command huge premiums. A regular brown example might be worth $1 or $2. A full red, high-grade example, hundreds of dollars. In certified condition, some have crossed $700 to $1,000. Here's another shocking reset. Some of these pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchet. Zinc blanks intended for other coins, or improperly plated planchets. These errors are extremely rare, but real. When authenticated, they can bring thousands. This is the kind of big money error that turns an ordinary collector into a believer overnight. And yes, real auction houses have confirmed these sales. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC have certified 2009 Formative Years pennies selling for prices that make people stop breathing. One high-grade satin finish example crossed the auction block for over $1,100. That's not speculation. That's history. So here's what I want you to do right now. Grab a magnifying glass. Look at the rim. Is it sharp and square instead of rounded? Check the weight if you can. Look for doubling. Look for missing metal. Look for anything that feels off. Because hidden treasure doesn't announce itself. It hides in plain sight. This coin tells the story of a poor boy reading by firelight, who grew up to change a nation. And fittingly, this same coin has quietly changed lives for collectors who knew what to look for. That's why we call this life-changing value. That's why this is big money. And that's why people who ignore pennies miss fortunes. But here's the cliffhanger. There is one ultra-rare variety of the 2009 Formative Years penny that most collectors still overlook. An error so subtle that even experienced eyes miss it. And when you see it, you'll understand why some people say the greatest hidden treasures are still out there, waiting. So don't stop now. Check your coins. Check your jars. Check that old drawer. And if you want to make sure you never miss another big money coin, subscribe right now. Because the next video might reveal the exact coin that turns your spare change into a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. Stop everything. Because the next coin I'm about to talk about has already turned ordinary people into stunned believers. I'm serious. A single penny, still hiding in circulation, has sold for hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases triggered truly life-changing value. This isn't hype. This is big money hiding in plain sight, and most people spend it without ever knowing what they just lost. In 2009, the U.S. Mint quietly released a special series of pennies to honor Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday. For designs. For chapters of a life that changed history. But the very first design, the birth and early childhood Lincoln penny, is where the mystery begins. This coin looks innocent. A simple log cabin, humble and plain. And that's exactly why collectors ignored it at first. No one suspected this design would become a hidden treasure. Millions were struck. Billions were spent. And somewhere along the way, something went wrong. Here's the chilling part. Some of these coins were never meant to exist the way they do today. Minting mistakes. Wrong finishes. Rare errors. Coins that slipped through quality control and vanished into pocket change. And now, more than a decade later, collectors are scrambling to get them back, paying big money to anyone lucky enough to still have one. Let's slow down and make sure you're holding the right coin. Flip the penny over. Look for the date, 2009. On the reverse, you should see a log cabin, Lincoln's birthplace in Kentucky. That's your birth and early childhood penny. Now look closely below the date on the front. Do you see a small D mint mark? That means Denver. No mint mark. That's Philadelphia. And here's the shock. Both mints produced valuable versions, but for very different reasons. Now let me reset your attention with a fact that makes collectors' hearts race. In pristine condition, a 2009 birth and early childhood penny with a satin finish has sold for over $900 at auction. That's right, nearly $1,000 for a single cent. These satin finish coins were made for collector sets, not circulation. But many escaped. And when they're found in top condition, that's where life-changing value starts to whisper. Here's how you identify one. Tilt the coin under a light. Does it look unusually smooth, almost velvety, with razor-sharp details and a squared-off rim? That's not normal. That could be satin finish. Collectors pay $300 to $1,000 plus, depending on grade. Big money, hiding in a penny jar. But now we enter the danger zone, the error coins. Some 2009 birth and early childhood pennies were struck with double die errors. Look closely at In God We Trust, Liberty, and Lincoln's eye and jawline. If the letters look doubled or shadowed, you may be holding a coin that sells for $400, $800, even over $2,000. These aren't guesses. These are confirmed sales recorded by major grading companies. Reset your focus again, because this one shocks even seasoned collectors. Off-center strikes. Coins where the cabin is shifted, the date is partially missing, or Lincoln looks off balance. These coins look wrong, and wrong is valuable. Off-center 2009 birth and childhood pennies have sold from $500 to $1,500, depending on how dramatic the error is. And it gets better. There are clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing because the metal sheet was cut incorrectly before striking. On modern pennies, these are rare. On this design, explosive. Verified examples have sold for $300 to $900, sometimes more if the clip is dramatic. Now let's talk color, because this is where people accidentally lose fortunes. If your penny is dark brown, it's common. But if it's bright red, with original copper color and no dull spots, that changes everything. Collectors call these full red coins. In high grades, full red 2009 birth and early childhood pennies have sold for hundreds of dollars, even without errors. Combine red color with a satin finish or error. That's big money stacked on big money. Here's a reset that almost sounds unreal. A small number of these pennies were struck on wrong planchets, metal blanks not intended for Lincoln cents. These are extremely rare, but authenticated examples exist. When certified, these can bring thousands of dollars, sometimes more depending on composition. This is the level of hidden treasure that turns collectors into lifelong hunters. And yes, this is backed by real auction results. Coins certified by PCGS and NGC have crossed major auction blocks for prices that make people rethink every penny they've ever spent. One high-grade satin finish birth and early childhood penny reached over $900. Error examples routinely break four figures. All from a coin people once called just spare change. Think about that for a second. A coin showing a poor log cabin, now delivering life-changing value. Lincoln's story began in poverty, with almost nothing. And somehow, this penny tells the same story. It starts worthless, ignored, overlooked, until the right person recognizes what it truly is. That's why collectors love this coin. That's why it represents big money and opportunity wrapped in copper. But here's the cliffhanger, and this is where you need to listen carefully. There is one ultra-rare variety of the 2009 birth and early childhood penny that most people still don't know how to identify. A subtle detail so small that even experienced collectors miss it. And when you see it, you'll understand why some pennies never make it back into circulation. So here's your mission. Check your change. Check old rolls. Check that forgotten jar in the drawer. Because hidden treasure doesn't knock, it waits. And if you want to stay ahead of the next big discovery, subscribe now. The next video could reveal the exact penny that turns your spare change into a story worth telling for the rest of your life. Stop scrolling, because the next penny I'm about to talk about has already shocked collectors around the world. I'm not exaggerating when I say this ordinary-looking cent has triggered big money sales, uncovered hidden treasure, and delivered life-changing value to people who almost spent it on coffee. If you've ever ignored a penny, this video could change everything. In 2009, to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday, the U.S. Mint released a once-in-a-lifetime series of Lincoln cents. For designs, for chapters of Lincoln's life. But the third design, the professional life penny, is where things get strange. This coin shows Lincoln as a lawyer and statesman, standing confidently in front of the Illinois state capitol. It looks clean, respectable, ordinary, and that's exactly how it fooled millions of people. At the time, most Americans barely noticed this redesign. Pennies were pennies. People spent them, tossed them into jars. But quietly, behind the scenes, collectors began to notice something was very wrong and very valuable about some of these coins. Here's the mysterious part. The professional life penny was struck in 2009, during one of the most chaotic years at the U.S. Mint. Production changes, new dies, special finishes, rushed output. And when that happens, mistakes slip through. Rare mistakes, big money mistakes. Let's make sure you're holding the right coin. Flip the penny over. Look for the date 2009. On the reverse, you should see Lincoln standing in front of a building with columns. That's the Illinois state capitol. That confirms it's the professional life penny. Now look under the date on the front. A small D mint mark means Denver. No mint mark means Philadelphia. And here's the shock. Both mints produced valuable versions, but for very different reasons. Now reset your focus, because this is where collectors' pulses start racing. Some 2009 professional life pennies were struck with a satin finish. These were made for collector sets, not circulation. But many escaped. And when found today, especially in high condition, These coins sell for $300, $600, even over $1,000. Real auction sales. Real money. From a penny most people still think is worth 1 cent. Here's how to spot one. Tilt the coin under a light. Does it have a smooth, silky surface instead of a shiny glare? Are the details unusually sharp? Is the rim squared and crisp? That's not normal circulation quality. That's a satin finish, and that's big money. But now let's talk about the errors, because this is where hidden treasure turns into obsession. One of the most valuable errors on the professional life penny is the double die. Look closely at "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and Lincoln's facial features. If the letters look doubled or thick, you could be holding a coin worth $400 to $2,000, depending on clarity and condition. Certified examples have sold at major auctions, confirmed by PCGS and NGC. Reset your attention again, because this one shocks even experienced collectors. Off-center strikes. Coins where Lincoln is shifted, the building is cut off, or the date is partially missing. These coins look wrong, and that's exactly why collectors pay $500 to $1,500, sometimes more for dramatic examples. The more obvious the error, the higher the value. And it doesn't stop there. There are clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing because the metal blank was cut incorrectly before striking. On a modern penny, that's rare. On a 2009 professional life design, it's explosive. Verified clipped planchet examples have sold for $300 to $900, and extreme cases can go even higher. Now let's talk color, because this is where people unknowingly throw away fortunes. Most pennies turn brown over time. That's normal. But if your coin is bright red, with original copper color and no dull spots, collectors take notice. These are called full red coins. A high-grade, full red 2009 professional life penny can sell for hundreds of dollars even without an error. Combine red color with a satin finish or error. That's life-changing value territory. Here's a reset that sounds almost unbelievable, but it's real. A small number of these pennies were struck on wrong planchets, metal blanks never intended for Lincoln cents. These are extremely rare, but authenticated examples exist. When certified, these coins can sell for thousands of dollars. This is the level of hidden treasure that turns casual viewers into serious collectors. And yes, this is backed by real sales. Major auction houses have recorded professional life pennies selling for prices that make people rethink every jar of change they've ever owned. Satin finish examples have crossed $1,000. Error coins regularly hit 4 figures. All from a coin people once ignored. Think about that for a moment. A penny showing Lincoln at work, now doing the work of changing lives. Lincoln rose from humble beginnings to professional greatness. And fittingly, this coin follows the same path. It starts as pocket change. It gets overlooked, until someone sees what others missed. That's why this penny represents big money opportunity. That's why collectors call it hidden treasure. And that's why it still holds life-changing value today. But here's the cliffhanger, and this is where you need to pay attention. There is one ultra-rare variety of the 2009 professional life penny that most collectors still don't know how to identify. A tiny detail so subtle that even seasoned experts overlook it. And when you learn what it is, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. So don't wait. Check your change. Check old rolls. Check that forgotten jar in the drawer. Because big money doesn't always look big, and hidden treasure loves to hide in plain sight. Subscribe now, because the next video could reveal the exact coin that turns your spare change into a story worth telling for the rest of your life.